Good evening, everyone. I'm Joe Minor, the City of Bowie Planning Director, and tonight we are having a virtual stakeholders meeting concerning the Mill Branch Crossing subdivision. And this is a property that's located at the northeast quadrant of US Route 301 and Mill Branch Road. This is a city stakeholders meeting, and all participants and attendees are in the listen-only mode. The rules for this meeting tonight to participate is that we would ask all attendees who would like to ask questions to use the Q&A function in Zoom at the bottom of the screen. You can type in your question, and at the appropriate time, I will read the question. And when we run out of questions, the meeting will basically be over at that point. We do not respond to raised hands, and so just try to use the Q&A function to ask your questions. This meeting is being recorded and a copy will be placed on the city's website, the YouTube web channel that the city has. And again, tonight's meeting is for invitees only, so only those who have registered are participating. At this point, I'll turn this meeting over to the city's staff person, Mr. Frank Stevens. And Frank, you can take it from here.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Good evening, everyone. For the record, my name is Frank Stevens from the city planning staff, and we'll be reviewing the preliminary plan of subdivision for Mill Branch Crossing. May I have the next slide, please? And the next slide. Thank you. The location of the property, as Joe said, is along 301 northbound and Mill Branch Road. The site, which is shown here, contains approximately 70 acres. It's zoned CSC Commercial Shopping Center, and the proposal is for 77,600 square feet of retail commercial space, a 150-room hotel, 193 townhouse dwelling units, and 347 multifamily dwelling units. This is a stakeholders meeting. It's not a public hearing. The city will be conducting two public hearings later. The first is the public hearing by the Bowie Advisory Planning Board on Tuesday, December 15th at 7 p.m. And the City Council public hearing will be on Monday, January 4th, 2021 at 8 p.m. Both of those public hearings will be virtual public hearings. I now would like to introduce Mr. Ed Gibbs, attorney for the applicant, who will continue with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank Joe Minor and Frank Stevens for the opportunity to be here this evening. And can everyone hear me? Joe and Frank, can you hear me? Good. Okay, thank you very much. Yes. So it's great to be here this evening to make this presentation, both to city staff and to the stakeholders who are assembled here this evening. I would like to indicate who I represent here. First of all, I am a land use attorney in Prince George's County, and my offices are in Largo. And this evening, I am representing the two owners of the property, which form the subject matter of this preliminary subdivision plan. One is Green Branch LLC, and the managing member and primary owner of that limited liability company is Mr. William F. Chesley, and he is on the Zoom screen this evening with us and would be available to answer any questions that you may have. In addition, the other primary ownership entity is GBR Mill Branch LLC. And they do not have anyone present this evening. Mr. Chesley is representing them as well. In addition, on the call, we have with us Ms. Kim Morgan of Land Tech. She is the civil engineer who has prepared the plans. And we have Ms. Jackie Chandler of Traffic Concepts, our transportation engineer, and she has prepared the traffic impact analysis, which has been filed with this application. You know, as Frank mentioned in his presentation, The property is about 70 acres and it has extensive frontage on the east or the northbound lanes of US 301, just north of the intersection of 301 and Mill Branch Road. The property also has a fair amount of frontage on Mill Branch Road as well, along its southern boundary. The property really consists of two parcels as it exists today. Parcel A, which is a recorded final platted parcel, is about 63 acres and a little bit of change. Then there is a smaller parcel, parcel 32, which is a deed parcel of about 2 acres, located in the northwest corner of the subdivision and fronting on US 301. Basically, the property is unimproved. It has cultivated fields and some wooded areas, as well as some environmental features that are sensitive in nature and are located generally in the northern portion of the site. The property was annexed into the city of Bowie in April of 2012, and it does have an entitlement history. In 2009, a preliminary subdivision plan was approved for this property, and it proposed over 600,000 square feet of commercial uses, as well as a 150-room hotel. That preliminary plan, again, was approved, and subsequently, the property was platted as Parcel A, as it exists today. Now, Parcel 32 obviously was not part of that original preliminary plan. No development has occurred, no improvements that were entitled pursuant to the approval of that preliminary plan have been built. As many who are listening tonight are aware, the county council in October of 2018 adopted a new zoning ordinance. And for the most part, all of the existing zones that we have in the county will be abolished and new zones will be created or have been created. The actual zoning ordinance is an adopted piece of legislation as we sit here this evening. It, however, has not become effective and will not become effective until such time as the entire county is rezoned and every piece of property in the county is assigned a new zoning classification. So this property is CSC. We're proceeding to subdivide under the CSC zone. We are designated to receive the CGO zone. That stands for Commercial General Office. And the CGO zone is a new zoning classification which permits not just retail, commercial, and commercial office uses, but in addition, it permits, as a matter of right, multifamily residential units at a density of 48 units per acre. And it also permits, as a matter of right, residential townhomes at a density of 20 units per acre. So recognizing that the property is going to get the CGO zone in the new countywide map amendment, my client approached the county council with a request to consider enacting a zoning text amendment, which would essentially allow him to move forward to implement residential uses in addition to commercial uses on the property prior to the time that the new ordinance becomes effective. So the council agreed to do that. And in November of 2019, the council adopted a zoning text amendment, which is designated CB 45 of 2019. And that legislation effectively did three things. It allowed a gas station and a convenience store in the CSC zone as a use permitted of right, subject to the approval of a detailed site plan by the planning board with right of appeal to the district council or call up by the district council. It also permitted, as a matter of right, multifamily residential and residential townhouse uses. And once again, subject to approval of a detailed site plan by the planning board, and once again with a right of appeal to the district council or a call up right by the district council. So Once that text amendment was approved, Mr. Chesley determined to move forward and file a new preliminary plan, which would allow him to implement residential uses on the property in advance of the new countywide map amendment being approved and the CGO zone being assigned to the property. As everyone knows, the retail world has changed dramatically over the last couple of years, and it has been substantially impaired by COVID since March of 2020. So the need to implement some residential uses on the property was pretty much imperative in order for a successful development to move forward. So what we have now is a preliminary subdivision plan, which has been accepted for processing by the Park and Planning Commission. The staff of the Park and Planning Commission has given us initial comments, and we are preparing to respond to those comments and file a revised plan with some supporting documents. And then we'll move forward to a planning board hearing ultimately on the preliminary subdivision plan. I'd like to mention a couple of characteristics of the plan itself. The primary point of access will be a private road. And could Kim, could you put, or Frank, could you put the preliminary plan back up if that's possible?
I'll ask, there it is. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So looking at the screen on the left as you're facing the screen, and which of course is the southern boundary, intersecting with US 301 is Mill Branch Road. So the primary point of access into the subdivision will occur by proceeding east-southeast on Mill Branch Road, where there will be a circle, and you will turn left and proceed northeast on a private road, which is known as Mill Branch Crossing Road. About a third of the way down Mill Branch Crossing Road, you can take a left, and there is a private road that meanders through the subdivision and intersects pretty much about 80% of the way through in the northern part of the subdivision with another circle. So along the western boundary of this internal private road, there are a series of proposed lots which will be ultimately utilized for commercial purposes. To the east of that private road, as you're coming in, there's a large open parcel that you see, and that is proposed to be a multifamily pad site. And then beyond that multifamily pad site to both the east and the north are residential townhouse lots, which will be fee simple lots, ownership lots for residents to purchase. And then, of course, along the northern portion of the property, there are some other parcels which are designated for commercial uses. The preliminary subdivision plan process really does not deal with the approval of uses per se, but rather dividing a large piece of property into smaller parcels. And that's exactly what we're doing. And so, you know, we do, as Frank said, we have about 77,000 square feet allocated for various commercial uses. We continue to have a hotel site of 150 rooms. We're at this point proposing 347 multifamily units and 191 townhouses. So after we complete the preliminary subdivision plan process, we would then proceed to detailed site plan for all of the uses that are proposed within the subdivision. The detailed site plans, again, will go to the planning board with right of appeal to the district council or call up by the district council. So really, that's pretty much an overview. I think there's one final thing with regard to access that I wanted to bring to your attention, and that is we are proposing about 2/3 to 75% of the way up on the property's US 301 frontage. We are proposing a right in, right out turning movement to take some of the pressure off of Mill Branch Road and Mill Branch Crossing Road to allow those right turns into the property and right turns out of the property to proceed north again on US 301. So we'll have 2 points of access. With that being said, I'm happy to respond to any questions anyone may have, or any one of our team members will be happy to respond as well.
Okay, this is Joe Minert again, and I can speak to the attendees who are participating in this call. If you're interested in asking a question at this point, you can simply type the question into the Q&A function, and I will read the questions and direct them to the appropriate person. So we can give a few minutes for you all to think about the questions you might want to ask. Sometimes there aren't any questions, so we'll have to just give it a few minutes. And at this point, there are 5 attendees who are on this Zoom call tonight. So I will just leave it to you, and please type your questions into the Q&A. We'll try to get them answered. Okay, at this point, I do not see any questions from the attendees. At this point, oh, hold on, there's one person has said they don't have any questions at this time. And here is another question. Can you review the stormwater management plan? Ed, I'll throw that to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Joe. And I'm going to throw that to the stormwater management expert, who is Kim Morgan. And I'm going to ask her to unmute her mic and jump on here and, give us, I mean, I don't think you need to get into extreme depth with the technical aspects, because I certainly wouldn't understand those. But if you could give us sort of an overview of the stormwater management concept plan. Thank you, Kim.
Sure. Hi, for the record, I'm Kim Morgan with the Land Tech Corporation. The thought is that presently about 30% or 40% of the site drains to the culvert that's under Route 301. From that point, it drains north along the southbound lanes of 301, and then it goes through a series of ditches and storm drain structures. And then it comes back across 301 in a 72-inch culvert. And then it flows along the northern property line of the Green Branch tributary. One of the, we did have a stormwater concept approval that was originally done by Prince George's County Department of Permitting, Inspections and Enforcement. And that stormwater management requirement, because of the situation with Green Branch tributary, it's fairly eroded. They required us to detain the 100-year storm on this property. So the plan now is, if you, in the northeastern corner of the site, there's a parcel, and that is parcel 19, it's parcel 20. We are proposing an above ground stormwater management facility that will detain the 100-year storm. We're also going to make that an amenity, and there's water quality being provided in that pond as well. Throughout the development, as we do the various detailed site plans, there will be, we will be doing the ESDs to the MEP requirement for environmental site design. So we will have a series of bioswales, bioretention facilities. We could possibly have a sand filter in one location. We'll have permeable pavement in certain areas. And we have submitted a revised stormwater concept plan. In fact, we did get approval of the original stormwater concept plan, both by DPI and by the city of Bowie. Frederick Ward is their engineer that reviewed our plan. And we submitted a revised plan to them about 6 months ago that reflects the full development of this site as we believe it may be. It'll change as we change uses, and not uses, but types of, layouts for different retail pads and that sort of thing. So the idea is to ship most of the water on this site to that stormwater management pond via an underground storm drain system and the appropriate ESD requirements to the maximum extent practicable.
Thank you, Kim.
Okay, thank you for that very thorough answer. I do not see any other questions at this point, so I'd encourage the participants or the attendees, if you have a question you want to ask, we only have a few more minutes, I suppose, to give you to type in your questions. And if there are no other questions, we can conclude the meeting. But I want to give you one last opportunity to ask any additional questions you might have. There is a follow-up question to the last question on stormwater, and that is, does any water get diverted down Mill Branch Road? Ed?
A
Yes,
very
Tom.
small amount, less than is currently going down Mill Branch Road. And I'm assuming that this question is going east on Mill Branch Road. And that the answer to that is we do have a ESD that's at the end of this development, and we have reduced the amount of flow to the existing culvert that's on Mill Branch Road.
Thank you, Kim. Okay, we're looking for any additional questions from the stakeholders at this point. I think we've answered the 2 questions about stormwater, but I do not see any additional questions from our attendees. Typically, what we will do is when we run out of questions, the meeting will come to an end. And if there are no other questions from the attendees, I will direct Frank Stevens to close out the meeting.
Thank you, Joe. In conclusion, I'd just like to restate the city's upcoming virtual public hearings for this case. Again, the Bowie Advisory Planning Board will meet on Tuesday, December 15th at 7 o'clock. And the Bowie City Council will meet on Monday, January 4th, 2021 at 8 o'clock. Both of those meetings will be virtual meetings regarding this particular case. With that, I think we can conclude tonight's meeting. Thank you for all the participants and for all the attendees and the public for attending. Thanks very much.
Thank you. We
Good night.
appreciate the time.
Okay, sure.
Have a good evening.